growing deeper. It's all about seeing how our patterns, as simple as they are creating complex systems. That even little actions and thoughts can grow into amazing things. This March, our theme is the flow of coming and going. In our fast-paced world, filled with constant change and distractions, we invite you to explore how to maintain your inner focus through spiritual practices like meditation, silent reflection, and mindfulness. By awakening from the clutter of everyday thoughts, you can reconnect with your true essence and experience the divinity within, even amidst the continual ebb and flow of life. The recommended book for March is Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle. And today's speaker is April, and it's a little introduction. Life's always moving, like a fresh spring breeze, shifting directions when we least expect it. But what if, instead of resisting the wind, we let it lift us? This week we're leaning into the idea that change isn't something to brace against. It's the very thing that helps us stretch, sway, and bloom bigger than before. So, how can we stay true to ourselves while everything around us moves? How do we find our rhythm in the dance of change and blossom right where we are? So please help me welcome April Johnston-Ulrich with her talk, Blossoming in the Swaying.
I don't usually have this many papers, so you'll have to excuse me. Here we go. We're done. Now I'll ignore them. My backup. Am I a little too loud? I'll hold it down here. I should be fine. Thank you, Terry, though, for that movement I saw. Sorry, guys. All right. Hi, everyone on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. Oh, let's just take a minute. Just look at all these beautiful faces. Wow, this is so wonderful to see. Just a full house for those on Zoom and pretty full on Zoom. So thank you all for joining us. So our whole month has been going with the flow. And just sort of an expression of this, I think we always feel that we need to be doing something, right? We're spiritual people. We need to be doing something. You know, if something's not working, we need to get in there and meditate, or we need to do treatment, or we need to do something, right? Truth is, we don't have to do anything. Spirit's always there. It's always flowing. It's always available to us. And a lot of the time, when we get that stuff going, we're preventing it because we're in our heads and we're thinking, what's the next thing I gotta do? What do I have to plan next? And we get caught up in that. So this reminded me of a experience I had where a few years ago you had to write your boat test for those who drive boats in Ontario. They went to licensing and it was hilarious because you could do it online. And nobody was watching it. So a bunch of us went to a coffee shop where they had Wi-Fi. We sat and everybody kind of took turns doing it. We got in there and we turned on our computers and no Wi-Fi signal. And we're hitting reset and we're hitting connect and it's not happening. And we're looking around and everybody else had Wi-Fi. And they were doing fine. So we went up to the counter and we said, is there a particular code? It's funny, the Zoom has turned off. Maybe it's the sound. Steph, could you just check the chat? I'm just kind of wondering if we lost a signal or something. Anyway, sorry everyone. That's the fun of dealing with the shifting sounds of having an electronic component to the service. So what's so interesting about this was I went up to the counter and I said, we can't get on the Wi-Fi, is there a problem? And they said, no, the Wi-Fi is working perfectly. So went back, hit refresh, and the waitress came out and she said, you know what, why don't you just leave it for a few minutes, just close it, enjoy your coffee, and sometimes it's been clicking too much, you can disrupt the connection. So that's what we did. We closed the computers, we enjoyed a great conversation, we opened it up, and sure enough, we were connected. So the same is true for us. Now let's all just take a moment and enjoy the Wi-Fi in this room. Can you feel it? Can you see it? But you trust it's going to be there, right? When you go to connect. So why don't we have that same trust with the flow? And sometimes we do, right? Sometimes we get that connection, and then what happens? Everything underneath of us shifts. So we're, as the talk is, trying to blossom, trying to create our best lives in a world that's continuing to change. A world that takes the feet out of us, underneath of us sometimes, right? We look at our political world right now, it's shifting every day. We look at our world itself, spring, fall, winter, spring, winter. I mean, it's, you never know what you're waking up to. So we're always trying to create with this constant change. And sort of the one thing that kind of leaned me into this topic was a conversation. Actually, I had a whole other talk prepared, and then Wes sent me a little something that he saw on Facebook. And it was a woman having a conversation with artificial intelligence. And what was so great about it was she was having the conversation on a spiritual level. And she even asked AI how it could answer the question on a spiritual level. And what I loved about it was that it came back as we're all one. You are actually talking to yourself. I'm just another form of intelligence, of human intelligence, data coming back to you, and as are we, right? We're all consuming data right now and processing it in our minds, and we have our intelligence, and we all know we're one. So when we're having a conversation with anything, including this tree, right, we're basically having a conversation with the one, with the divine. So that sounds kind of out there. What I'm trying to get at is, and Deepak Chopra talks a lot about this now, is that AI can be something we fear. We could fear it's taking all our jobs, we could fear that it's going to be the destruction of humanity, that on and on. We all know the fears, we hear about them a lot. But what are the benefits, and why could this be something that actually increases our consciousness, that actually helps us to become more intelligent, more conscious human beings, that this might be actually part of the shifting sands that is creating the new evolution of humanity, right? Something to think about, not always something to fear. So what does that look like when we embrace those types of changes, right? We have the opportunity to look at things from a new angle and to realize that nothing ever stays the same, that things are always shifting, and that fears sometimes come up from these types of situations. So, what if it leads you actually to something better? What if something is actually working for your good? What if this is something the divine has put there? There's nothing in AI that is not from humans. It doesn't have the capability of making up things. It draws from absolutely anything. And you can challenge it. So I had a couple of questions that I was asking AI this week. And it gave me an answer, and I'm like, no, that doesn't resonate with me. So I asked it to take into account, it was giving me a very physical answer, sort of pragmatic, literal. So I said, I want you to take into account all of the spiritual wisdoms there are in the world, and we can figure your answer. And I said, you're absolutely right. Here's the answer. So one thing about AI is it will grow with you. And if you ever read something that isn't your truth, challenge it. Just say, no, that's not how I see it. I want you to take into account these things. And it will give it back to you, taking into account those things. So isn't that amazing? It reflects your truth. So you can literally ask, based on everything you know about me, what would my higher power say about this situation? And it will give you an answer. And it is crazy how clear this is. So this changes everything, because as a teacher of science mind, I realize that anybody can go home, say, write me a treatment about blah, 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 and they will have a full treatment in 10 seconds. And it will be amazing, right? So it's interesting because even though we get those treatments, we still need to know everything underneath of it, right? So it's interesting, it still needs us to manifest. You could probably say that treatment, have a lot of luck, because as I said, Spirit's always listening, Spirit's always there, it's ready to reflect, but if you don't feel it, if it doesn't come from you, if it's not your truth, it can't reflect it. Because it's merely something that a piece of paper has on it. So isn't that something wonderful? That we're co-creating, and that it's not from our limited knowing, it's from a larger knowing, and we can incorporate that, but it's still dependent on us to do that step. It still needs us to connect with Spirit. It still needs us to allow the divine through. So I love the analogy with AI, because I think it's something that everyone is kind of dealing with or hearing about, or, I know my son is very worried about it. He's an artist and he feels that it's going to take all the artwork. But honestly, you can tell the difference between an AI picture and someone else's art. And then sometimes it's in the imperfections that make things so beautiful, right? It's not in the perfection. I mean, AI's got glowing light down to an art form, but you can't beat someone's own inner thoughts about something that they've put on to paper. So in this way, I'm trying to look at all the things in my life that I fear moving forward, looking at. And it's interesting because sometimes when we fear something, we stop thinking and we just react, right? I've got to defend myself, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Instead of going quiet and saying, what is trying to emerge here? And I mentioned this the last time I spoke. What is trying to emerge? What is trying to come out? And I find more times than not when I do this, and then if I don't hear the whisper of the answer and I just say, fine, it's all yours, Spirit. I'm going to let it flow and see what comes about. The signs start coming. And they start slow at first, and then they start coming more and more and more. So when I was starting this talk, one of my signs was Wes sending me that piece on AI, and I was kind of struggling to find what I wanted to use as an example for this talk. It was perfect. Then I got a book from my sister-in-law out in Victoria that came randomly out of nowhere, and it's Comfortable with the Uncertainty. Right? And I found that she had left this for me when she had come out to take care of our house. And I hadn't really picked it up. And then I read the cover and I just started laughing. So Comfortable with the Uncertainty. Perfect. Exactly today's topic. So leaning into change. I'd like you to try an example with me, if you would. And this is the exercise. So for those on Zoom, if you feel like it, I'm going to get you to stand up if you're capable. If it's uncomfortable for you, please stay seated. Now I'd like you, once we're up, get your feet so you're solid on the ground. And I'd like you to cross your arms like you normally would. If you're being defensive. Right. A little defensive. I know we all are opposed to this because we're trying not to look defensive. Great. Now I'd like you to switch your arms from which one's on top. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? And we want to do immediately is shift back to where we were, right? So, now gently, I want you, if you feel comfortable, only if you feel comfortable, if not, keep your eyes open, but if you feel comfortable, keep your arms crossed with the uncomfortable arm on top. Don't get out of it that soon. Close your eyes and begin to sway. Right, gently move the body. Maybe even step side to side if you feel kind of comfortable with that. This is life. Always moving, always inviting us to shift, to adapt, to grow. So instead of resisting, what if we played with this movement? What if we turned discomfort into a flow? That's great. Now shake out your arms, relax, and return to just standing, being still. That moment of discomfort, that's where the growth happens. Every time life shifts, we have a choice to resist and stiffen or to sway and blossom. The world is shifting. AI, personal evolution, you're invited to expand, not shrink. Great, thank you. You can take a seat. So, that is an expression of what it's like to be in a comfortable situation, to go quiet and then move. It's just like a flower. A lot of flowers, if they didn't grow tall and have flexible stems, they would never exist. They would never be able to produce their seeds. And then the wind carries it, right? So I love the fact that I got this topic this week. As I had mentioned to the board back in February, that as of June, I would not be taking on a new contract with the center. And the reason being is, and then I put in a formal letter last week and I'd asked them to refrain from sharing with everyone, which I'm really happy they did for me, so that I could tell the members all at once on my own accord. And the reason being is so many things were shifting under me. And I really realized I wasn't getting my footing and I was resisting it and I was trying to kind of hold on. And I realized that's not the way. The way is to allow and to see what is trying to emerge. And I stand up here every week and say, what is Spirit trying to say to you? What is the whisper? And I started to hear the whisper very loudly. And it wasn't about anything other than there is newness for me. There is something that is trying to emerge. And I have had such a privilege of being your spiritual director over the last few years. And honestly, you didn't get the choice. I mean, I was kind of put into this position after COVID. The board at that time was, great and allowed my contract to come in and hold our license because that was what was required with CSL. And oh my gosh, has it been fun. It has been, I think I've been doing it 5 years, on contract for 4 coming up, and it has been honestly the joy of my life. And it was funny last night, I had a dream. So obviously my conscience is still dealing with this. I had a dream that I was sitting in another place, and my husband asked me why I was wearing what I was wearing, and I was wearing my house coat, and I had a dog with me, and this was not a place that I should have been in a house coat with a dog. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Why would you let me leave the house in this house coat? Like, why am I here? And then I looked at my watch, and I'm like, I am supposed to be giving the talk this morning at the center. I can't get there. There's no way I'll get there on time. So I was saying when I woke up this morning, what the heck did that mean? What was that dream about? And what I got was that my truth was actually ahead of my consciousness. That my truth and my essence knew that it was time to move on. It was time to be somewhere in my housecoat with the dog and allow what was going to transpire on Sunday mornings to take on a new thing, right? So we have 3 months, and I'm going to have fun. I'm telling you right now, all the gloves are off. I'm going to have a lot of fun in the next 3 months here. But we also have an opportunity to really get clear, set our intentions, have fun, go with the flow, and welcome the newness. Because it's like anything, it's like AI. When we add to it, when we say we're doing something, there's the newness, right? Everything grows. I know that our former spiritual director of CSL, Dr. Philogin? Steph, do you know the name?
Edward Villiam.
Yes, that. He gave a great example of a church a famous church in Spain, and which has had 9 architects. And they always leave room for the new architect to put their stamp on it and for new things to come in. So this church has been under development since, I believe it was 1882. So over 100 years this building has been, and you're probably aware of it because it's one of the most famous images and comes out of Spain. But each of the sections is done with new architectural ideas and new things. My language is leaving me, but new construction, equipment and implements and all those words, right? But the thing is, it's something beautiful, just like here. Reverend Tim, Reverend Connie Phelps, Reverend Ian, Reverend Cam, Reverend Pat, Reverend Ann, Reverend Randy. It's been amazing. Every one of them has left their stamp on some part of this place. Every one of them essential, and I hope I didn't miss anyone, but essential to where we are right now. We wouldn't be what we are. This room wouldn't have these people without them. And that is truly amazing shifting of change, right? Different ideas, different ministers with different perspectives. And that is what makes us what we are. We're open at the top. We're never done. We're always welcoming new scientific ideas. We're always welcoming new spiritual concepts. We're always looking and sifting and finding out what works for us and what doesn't. And what I love about this is, for me, I get this opportunity to really spend time with me and do that. And I just noticed that, for those of you that know that I went through a transplant about 7 months ago, and I'm doing absolutely fantastic. But I also have to look at the reality of the situation and understand that I have time. I've been given valuable time to do something and do something amazing. And not that I don't think I could have done it here, but the whispering and the shifting sands lead me to believe that I need to have a little more time to myself to do it. So whoever takes over, if they will have me, I'm happy to come back and put on workshops or do talks or whatever way I can help. I'm totally in on that. And it'll be taking a bit of time because I haven't had a summer off in 5 years, so I am going to Folk Fest. So I'm so happy about that. It was funny. Another one of the signs I got was in our practitioner class, and I was going through all of my papers because I was getting rid of things that I didn't any longer need. And this poem literally fell out of my thing of practitioner training, and again, Spirit's amazing. Spirit does exactly what you need when you need it. So it's called Deep in the Stillness of Now, and it's by Andre Ducom. Deep in the stillness of now, I'm going to turn this around so I'm not got my back to everybody on Zoom. Deep in the stillness of now lies the greatest gift to be found. It is acceptance of what is, that you break what kept you bound. When you find the quiet within, an immeasurable treasure shines through, a glimpse into eternal nature of this mystery called you. What we seek is who is seeking, and so we look to others to be seen. But when you see the one who's seeking, you're freed from all who you were being. A flower opens gently and has its cycles like the moon. And when you let go of who you're not, you might find just yourself bloom. And so a more beautiful world may come, not by trying to change the tides, but by softening your gaze within to begin seeing with new eyes. Thank you so much for the last 5 years. I am here until June, so I am showing we don't have to, I'm not going to be running out the door. But please give time to think in the shifting times what you feel is trying to emerge for our center, what you feel is the right and perfect direction, and what you want from this place. We have a wonderful opportunity to create some amazing things, so let's do it. And so it is.